Hi guys, so it's Lucinda and Kirsty back with you again with our latest yoga tips video. So today we are looking at the seated forward fold. This is a tricky posture, mainly because most of us have tight hamstrings. So if you think about the shape that we create most of the day, which is sitting in a chair with our legs bent, what that means is that our hamstrings, the backs of our thighs, have become very, very tight. So to sit in a position where your legs are out straight in front of you, you're folding forwards over your legs, for most people is quite an extreme movement. We don't tend to stretch out the backside of our body. In fact, most of the time during our day, it's actually in a kind of a contracted position as we sit. We don't lengthen it. So it's quite a challenging posture to do, but there are some things that you can do that will help you to find the shape a little bit easier. So we wanted to just deconstruct the pose with you today, but also show you how you can use some bits and pieces that you'll have around your house to help you, I guess, find the things that you want to get through the pose, and we'll explain what that is, like what you're looking to stretch and what you're looking to strengthen. So we are going to start off with Lucinda in the posture. Now you have quite long hamstrings, don't you? Well, they're not bad. They're not as good as Ali's, but they're better than mine. But Lucinda's going to channel somebody with tight hamstrings. So when we come into the posture, so this, we start off with staff pose. So this is the pose that we do as we come down to the floor in a classic class, and actually often we do this in a mixed class as well, but we come down onto the mat and we say to have your legs out straight in front of you, your arms down by your side. So interestingly, already we can see that Lucinda has relatively short arms in comparison to her torso, which is kind of interesting. So again, you know, when you're doing yoga, you can only work with the body that you've got. And some people will have really long arms, so their elbows will be bent and their palms are on the floor. For others, they'll just touch. And then for others, they won't quite meet the floor. It doesn't matter, but it's just things to be aware of, because your body dimensions will make certain postures more accessible than others. So we're in staff pose. She's doing quite a good job of staff pose right now, to be honest. So I want you, so Lucinda, do stretch your legs out straight. Yeah, okay. So normally what happens is when we come down to the floor, we would say, okay, legs out straight, arms down by your sides. So what Lucinda's channeling now is a shape that we tend to make 8, 9, 10 hours a day. So this is where our body naturally wants to go. Shoulders have rolled forwards, her tummy isn't working at all, her seat bones, which are those bony bits in your bottom, are tucked right underneath her, her legs are outstretched, her feet are kind of, see how her toes are curling that way? That means that her hips aren't in a neutral position, which is what we want for this posture. So there's not a lot going on. If I asked Lucinda to sit here for the next 12 hours, she probably could quite comfortably. But what we want to do is we want her to challenge her body to change shape and to work in a way that isn't the shape that she makes all day, every day. So there's a couple of things that we're going to give her in terms of props, first of all. So because her bottom is kind of scooted so far underneath her, you'll see the base of her spine is round. Actually, we want to bring a little bit more length and neutrality to the base of her spine. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask her to grab a rolled up blanket or towel. So hopefully you have one of these at home. And she's going to place that just underneath her seat bones. And so it's kind of important that you don't sit completely on it. It should feel as if you're sort of toppling forwards. So already now you can see that she's got a much flatter sort of position at the base of her spine. The next thing I'm going to ask her to do is bend up her legs. And again, it goes flatter still. Arms down by your sides. So what Lucinda's not able to do is use any pressure through her hands to help her to sit up a little bit taller. So it's not too extreme. She could put blocks or books underneath her hands, but in this case, it might be helpful for her just to do a little spider tip of her fingers, then she'll get a little bit more traction. Now, I learnt this the other day during teacher training, but I thought this was quite a nice cue. What Lucinda can do is think about pulling her thumbs forward, but her fingertips back. Yeah? And then what will happen is the tips of her shoulder blades roll down her spine and she gets a really nice long neck. Shoulder blades are in sockets. The next thing we need to do is engage her tummy, because that helps to protect her spine and encourages her to sit up a little bit taller. So what we're aiming for here is real length in the spine. So she needs to scoop her belly button up and under and really pull in the tummy, starting with the pelvic floor. And then she looks towards her toes. The other thing, looking towards her toes, by the way, just means that her neck is in a neutral position. We tend to always dip our chin in because we're used to being on kind of smartphones, laptops, that kind of thing. So just by lifting her chin slightly to look towards her toes, we've corrected and brought her neck into the right position. The next thing I want her to do is energize her feet. So your position of your feet will tell you a lot about your body and your hips. So if you can have your feet in a kind of a flat position where your little toe is level with your big toe, you know that your hips are in a neutral position, which is what we want. So I'm going to ask Lucinda to kick through the balls of her feet and draw her baby toes in towards her face. And now her knees draw together and her inner thighs will start to roll down to the floor, neutralizing her hips. So this is staff pose. Who knew that there was so much going on in staff pose? No one. You thought it was just sitting on your mat. Okay, so next we progress this into the forward fold. So take an inhale breath, raise your arms up and over. Exhale breath, reach forwards for your toes. Bend your knees as much as you need and grab your big toes with your two first fingers and thumb. So Lucinda is going to go back to being what we call a bad yogi. So take an inhale breath, pull on the toes, lift your chest, and as you exhale, kick your heels forwards. So this is what tends to happen next in class. An obsession with getting legs straight, because we all have been told that yoga is all about touching our toes. But actually, leg straight isn't what we want in this posture. This posture isn't actually anything to do with the back of Lucinda's legs. It's actually about stretching her spine. So she's got a gap between her tummy and her thighs, which isn't great. You can see her spine is now rounded again. Her shoulders have come up back around her ears. And all of that lovely correction that we were doing to kind of get rid of her day and how she's been sat at a desk all day, we've now gone backwards with that. So we're going to bring her back out and we're going to align the posture properly. So come back up and drop your hands down. Let's go again. Bend up your knees. So most important thing, bend your knees. It doesn't matter. Bend them really, really deeply. Start with your belly on your thighs. Take an inhale breath, raise your arms up. Exhale breath, reach forward. So she wants to really lengthen as she goes for the big toes. Pull on the toes. So now, first thing we're going to do is start to use the strength of our arms, because this posture is all about using your arms and your legs as a lever to lengthen and create space on your lower back. So she needs to pull on her toes as hard as she can. Her feet have gone all soggy, which means that she's lost that neutral alignment through the hips again. So pull the baby toes in towards the face, kick through the balls of the feet. Take an inhale breath, pull on the toes, lengthen. Keep belly and thighs together as you kick your heels forwards. Shoulders away from ears. So her elbows must wrap her calf muscles really tightly. The bicep muscle is bulging. Pulling on the toes, activating through your feet. Again, gaze really important. You need to look beyond your toes. And now she's got length in her lower back. And if she wiggles her bum back a little bit and she kicks her heels further forwards, she can start to move deeper into the posture. But the most important thing is she doesn't lose that belly to thigh connection. Can you think of anything else we need to tell them? We're good. Okay. So if you do have super tight hamstrings, and what happens is that you are sat here holding your toes and you just feel like you can't stretch out your legs at all. And that could be hamstrings, it could be just your simple body dimensions. You can always use a strap. So Lucinda's just going to show you how you would use the strap. So differently with the strap, you would have your legs straight because you've suddenly created longer arms. So it's okay now to have straight legs. The strap must go just below the toes and it catches underneath the ball of the foot and that little mound underneath your big toe. And what you're doing with the strap is encouraging the baby toes in towards your face. So your strap is almost like a steering thing that you can use to get your feet in the right position. Shoulders still need to be depressed down the spine, and it's a pulling at the bicep, not with the shoulders. So if Lucinda just shows you what can happen sometimes when people use a strap, is the shoulders will hunch again, and you don't want that. So you've got to pull the elbows in towards your waist, pull, and still it's this idea of lengthening forwards to come down. She's got a lovely flat back, knees are touching, feet are touching, and now she's just using the power of pulling her arms against her straight legs to enable her to release her lower back. So if you want to come back out. So if you don't feel like you're achieving anything in the posture, you can use the addition of the strap. And if you don't have a strap at home, just grab a belt. Doesn't really matter what it is. Dressing gown cord, doesn't matter. Just loop it over your feet and then you can work with that strap. And always remember, it's lengthening the lower back that matters, not having straight legs. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. As always, share your progress on Facebook with us. Shoot us a video if you want. Ask us a question. We can always come back here and video something for you again if it was unclear. But hopefully that helps you with your practice at home, and we see you back on your mat soon.
Bye.